Strong start.
Alrighty, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the January 11th, 2024 regular meeting of the Associated Students of Western Washington University Executive Board meeting. We are broadcasting online this evening via Teams Town Hall. Just a note to any of our participants joining us online, these meetings are regularly recorded. Any of your verbal commentary will be recorded as part of the meeting and available for public review on our YouTube channel at a later date. Thank you all for your participation. And with that, I hand it over to our Executive Board Chair to run our meeting.
Okay, I would like to call the January 11th meeting of the Associated Students of Western Washington University Executive Board meeting to order at 5:33 p.m. Okay, first is revisions to the agenda. I would like to move to add 10 minutes for a total of 15 minutes for the AS Business Director report. It was an error on my part. I forgot the 1 in front of the 5. It's been motioned and second. Can any discussion? All those in favor of an additional 10 minutes to the AS Business Director report, please say aye. Aye. Any nays? Any abstentions? It passes unanimously. Okay, first then we're going to move on to the consent items, which all we have today is the meeting minutes from December 7th. Ready?
I want to approve the consent agenda. Brett seconds.
It's been moved in second. Any discussion?
To be frank, I have not taken the time to review the minutes, and I apologize for that. It was, I just didn't take the time to do that. I was wondering if we could move it to the second meeting, because that meeting was very important.
You can abstain, possibly. While we don't have a long agenda, it's not necessarily the most effective use of our time to sit here while you read through the 7 pages.
Yeah, I was wondering if we could table the approval of the minutes to the next meeting.
That is something we could do. We would have to, since it's been motioned in second, it will have to die. Or it'd have to be, the motion will have to fail and then we'll have to remove to table it to another meeting. There's always the option though, if everybody else has read it, that you can abstain if you haven't read it, since we have had adequate time to prepare for the meeting to review the documents.
Yeah, I'll abstain. You all can make your own decisions this morning.
Yeah, we can just vote however we would like, and then if we need to, we can make another motion. There's no problem with that. All those in favor of approving the consent items, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? It passes, the consent agenda passes 501. And now we're going to move on to officer reports. So we only have 2 reports today, me and Adam. I will go first. I'm trying to schedule check-ins with everybody. Hopefully we can hold them on a bi-weekly basis. We didn't necessarily keep that up the best over the previous quarter, but please make sure that your schedules are updated. For anybody that is a college grant recipient, and if you are watching the live stream before the 11th of January, there is an opportunity to testify. Or before the 12th. If you're watching it before the 12th, there's an opportunity to testify tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. In favor of a bill that's on our legislative agenda in favor of increasing the college grant. Super cool opportunity. Everybody who is a student government official has gotten an email with a link to sign up. If you don't have it, please feel free to reach out to me at aspres@swwu.edu for more information. And then next, if there's anything that we would like to include in the AS newsletter, please let me know. We can include that in the executive board section. And then over the next couple of weeks, we are going to be having some more WSA information coming, including the 10-year plan and more information on the fee increase like we talked about previously. And then also Adam is helping us make sure that we can pay our dues for this year for WSA, which is pretty exciting. Yeah, and then I'm pretty excited for this meeting. We have Trent today here, which is very exciting to give us a business director report, a little bit of an update from finance council, which Dave and I both serve on. And from now on, we're going to be having a couple of different AS employees and different people from around the university that are going to come and present on different topics. Like next week, we're going to have the civic involvement coordinator in the Office of Civic Engagement come and talk a little bit about like local politics in Bellingham and Whatcom County. So if there's anybody that you would like to come and present about a specific topic that you would like the board to know more, or anybody who's watching or attending the meeting to know more, please let me know and we can get them on the agenda. I think that is everything. I'm really excited to talk about a meeting that I had with Katie Potts, who is the chief of police at Western, about Narcan access. We're going to have a little bit of time to talk about that at the end of the meeting, but super excited to give you guys an update there. Okay, next we can move on to any updates from Adam.
Awesome. And so I forgot to declare at the beginning, I am doing triple duty note taker advisor, so apologies if I'm slow to the response this evening. An extra reminder, Adam is not awesome with hearing. Big loud voices in this room are wonderfully appreciated. Thanks for a couple minutes to do advisor report. Again, Adam Lorio, AS government advisor, he, him pronouns. I did have an emergent topic come across my email right before this meeting, so you all are aware. The AS Student Academic Grievance Board needs to be seated, and per their charge and charter, they have a pool required of 6 undergraduate students and 6 graduate students that need to be appointed through the AS Executive Board. The website got updated mid-December when it came to the attention of their new executive secretary, who's been appointed in that role like mid-December, to bring that board together to start recruiting. So the application is open online. I recruited Aspen and OCD's help updating it again today to help try to streamline applications. The notice I got just before this meeting is that there is a grievance pending. So they're in the process of filing that. So we kind of need some urgent help to recruit as many undergrad and grad student appointees as we can get, hopefully in the next week, to perhaps have it as an action item next week to appoint at least 2 or 3 of each of those categories so that Matt has a pool to draw from for the current grievance. So that's the big one. Nothing else for business this evening from me. I will mention we're going to hold folks here after the business meeting, after we complete our business, to just do some quick winter 2024 administrative updates for this group so that we're all in the same room together and can just move forward. We'll keep it short, get everybody out as quickly as possible this evening, knowing that it's the beginning of the quarter. So that is it for me, unless anyone has questions about anything.
Okay, next we can move on to information items, which we have Trent here today, who is the business director, to give us an update on Finance Council.
Thank you, Kira. Yeah, as Kira was mentioning earlier, I just kind of want to give an update over Finance Council and where our reserves and our current large event fund stands. So right now, our current reserves are at $357,476. And recently, some of the grants we've approved were $25,000 to the Outback Farm grant proposal. And then just to mention that that's just for the student positions and not for any maintenance or operational costs. We also approved $30,000 to a temporary club coordinator position grant. And that's basically just to give Donna some help right now because she's managing or advising over 200 clubs. So hopefully that'll kind of take some stress off her plate and make it a little bit easier for her. And that's it for grants. And then as far as large event fund goes, we have $43,236. And so far we've only approved one, and that was for the Cubs 50th anniversary large event request. And that'll be happening at the end of the month. as of now, those are all the grants and large event proposals that we've approved and gone through. I know that we have a few more in the works, so stay posted and I'm sure I'll give you guys updates. And then along with that, we'll submit our new updated charging charter. It just passed at last meeting like an hour ago. So I'm sure that'll be sent over to the executive board pretty soon and also the Senate. Other than that, that's pretty much it for me. Obviously budgeting starting soon, so finance council is gonna have their hands full in a couple of weeks, but yeah, that's about it. If anyone has any questions or anything.
Advisor request, can you email me all of those numbers so I can include them in the official minutes, please? Thank you.
Trent, can you share a little bit of clarification on because I don't necessarily know if all of us are familiar with when you mean reserves, what that money means, whether it's reserves of the AS, the grant reserves.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Like Sharon, a little bit
Yeah,
about
sorry.
that.
It all comes from the SNAP committee that meets obviously soon, but it's all leftover money. It gets pulled into that account, and then that money allows us to approve different pilot programs and different grants. That goes through finance council, and then the large event fund is also drawn from the reserves, but that's drawn every single year. So we only have a set amount for the certain year. So our current reserves are funded every year, but at the same time, yeah, I mean, that's what we have right now. Obviously that's subject to change based on future grants, and obviously it'll be funded in the future too. If that gives some clarification, sorry.
No, yeah, that definitely does. And then can you just share a little bit with everybody, since I don't think we're necessarily all familiar with how grants are approved, the process, if any of us would like to propose a grant?
Totally. So you can always contact me and Cindy Monger or Cynthia. But basically you just fill out a little form and it's attached to Finance Council's website. And you just fill it out, kind of say what you need it for, how it goes through the different standards and the grade rubric that Finance Council has set at the beginning of the year. And then during Finance Council, we take 1 week to review it. We read it over, bring up any discussion topics, any questions or comments. Usually the person who has the grant request has the opportunity to come to Finance Council and kind of tell us all about how it's going to be affecting all students and different ADEI requirements. And then other than that, the next week we approve it, comes to an action item, we approve it or we deny it. And then past that, it gets sent off to Dr. Fred, and he's a financial manager, so he's in charge of overseeing all that.
Does anybody else have any questions for Trent today?
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much
it.
for coming to our meeting today. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Okay, next we can move on to action items for our guest, which is the Elections Advisory Committee Charging Charter. Isaac has joined us many times now to get this passed, so thank you so much for coming here once again today. I know we requested you to make one edit, but you and I talked and you made one other edit, correct?
I have made I think I made 2, possibly more edits.
That's, sounds great. Do you want to walk us through the edits that you've made?
Sure. Because I believe this edit was the one that was suggested last meeting. Officially, the Student Senate member is now only appointed by the Student Senate. They are no longer confirmed under this version by the Exec Board. That's a relatively simple one. And then the one that the proposed edit that you guys wanted, which was to clarify the quorum rules, has also been placed. The Elections Advisory Committee now has a sort of a session rule similar to the LAC committee. 4 members will be required to be seated for the session to be held, and then within that, then to maintain quorum for individual meetings, you'll then have to have a majority of seated members, but this way ensures that a certain number of seated memberships will be seated before that, which is the part under chair. And then the final part, actually that's not the part under chair, that's actually the part I was just talking about under quorum, sorry. That's what that part is. And then going back up to chair actually is the edit that I had accidentally skipped over. I have added clarification on what is to happen if I am not present at a meeting. Because I was inspired by the LAC committee charging charter to add to that. So now In the event of my absence from a meeting, the director of the OC or their representative will be the interim chair while I'm not able to make it. And if they are also absent, but people still want to call a meeting, for instance, by our mechanism where 25% of the members can call a meeting, they can then vote among themselves to appoint an acting chair to function as chair if both me and the OC directors or their representative positions. And I believe those are the major edits that have not already been spoken about in previous meetings.
Yeah, I just want to say, I like how you added the part about the chair part, since the, even though the OCE civic engagement or the OCE director, that position often runs for appointed or elected positions. And so in the case where we often have the elections coordinator absent, especially in fall quarter. And so if there's an election in fall where we need to bring forward this committee and the OCE director would like to run for something, or in that case, I really liked how you add that, since often that position is running or the election coordinator isn't there. So I really like that addition.
Thank you for clarifying the stuff that I was confused about before. It looks good.
Okay.
Well, I just want to propose one last change. I read this before, but I think that looking historically at some of the other, when this charter was passed last, it sounds like there was some sort of tentative consensus that the student senate should also be involved in the election advisory committee in terms of approval of the code and the charter. And it looks like someone just forgot to do it last year or the year before, one of the two. So I was hoping that we could sort of finish that out. I think it makes sense just to know historically the first sort of version of the new Senate actually was very strongly empowered to deal with elections. And it's also right now, the student Senate is supposed to confirm the executive board member. It's not that it always happens because, we have hopes and dreams and we rarely meet every single expectation. But I'll just read the formal amendment that I have sort of proposed. So it would be to insert the student Senate in the first sentence of the charge. So right after AS Executive Board, it's AS Executive Board and Student Senate. The next edit would be to insert and the Student Senate in the first sentence of the amendments section. And that's, we just read a majority vote of the AS Executive Board and Student Senate. And reported to be amended to read, shall report to the AS Executive Board and Student Senate through their respective representatives. I don't think it was entirely necessary for the election coordinator to be doing the reporting. I don't know, we can also not do that edit. Either way. And then the last one was, I just noticed in this meeting, in the forum section, would be editing that last sentence to read, the session shall conclude when the elections code that the session was called for is passed by the Executive Board and Student Senate, concurrent with the other provisions outlined within this charging charter. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah, that makes sense.
As long as you're going to email it to Adam after the meeting, that sounds great. Would anybody like to move to approve with the stated amendment?
Godwin moves to approve the election advisory committee charter with the stated amendments.
Press second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the elections advisory committee charter with stated amendment, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? It passes unanimously. Yay. Thank you so much for coming again, Isaac. Yeah, and thank you so much. We will probably see lots more of you being the elections advisor.
I have one final thing to ask you.
Oh, yeah.
Because I am working on an accelerated time schedule to what I would normally be, it is urgent that I get the committee together as soon as possible so that we have the maximum of time that we can to actually do and get through and actually get edits proposed and look at the code itself. I'm here to ask you guys that if you guys could possibly get the executive board representative appointed possibly by next week.
Yeah,
Um,
most definitely.
Yep, and then
And same request, sorry, advisor, no, same request
I don't
accelerated.
remember, because I know I have a name, I forget what it is, and I don't remember if we appointed them yet or not.
yeah, and then also for the Senate, as soon as Senate as possible.
That way the committee's functional and ready to go, and you can bring the at-large members on board as soon as possible.
Yeah, that would allow us to have the committee as soon as 2 weeks from now, when Senate meets next.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your night, Isaac, and good luck with the rest of your quarter.
Thank you all.
Okay, next we are going to move on to information items from the board. I just have a little bit to share about Narcan access at Western that came out of our last meeting, and then also the meeting, the Board of Trustees meeting that happened at the beginning of December. There is a bill that I think is going to be on our lobby day agenda, correct me if I'm wrong, Erin, about Narcan access and fentanyl testing strips on college campuses. And we, even if it isn't on the lobby day agenda, we touched on it briefly. And then it was mentioned, I shared that at the Board of Trustees as one of the few things that we're having on our lobby day agenda. And then it was also, I think, shared by Nora Sealander, who is the Western's lobbyist. They shared a little bit about that. And then at that time, Katie Potts, who was the chief of police, was introduced to the Board of Trustees, and I reached out to her. She made a note to reach out to me, so we both reached out to each other and ended up setting up a meeting that happened to talk about Narcan access at Western Washington University, and then also fentanyl testing strips. Had a really great meeting with her, and there's kind of two asks that they have from us. Number one, they're looking for feedback about different locations that we can put Narcan on campus. Whether it seems like kind of fast moving, no bill has been approved. With the meeting that I've got with Officer Potts or Chief Potts is, even if the bill doesn't pass, which it most likely will, we will have Narcan access on our campus here. It is something that the university really matters to the university, and it also matters to students. And so they are looking for some information from you guys, or ideas and thoughts that you have specifically on where Narcan access would go. Fentanyl testing strips would likely go through the Health and Wellness Center, but Narcan, since it is fairly expensive, we are unable to distribute it to every student or even any interested students, and instead there needs to be locations on campus where students can access it. An idea that they have is putting it at the AED stations, so where you can electrically shock people. They would stop. Resuscitate, yes, that's the word. My bad. Exactly, yeah, defibrillators. Anyways, they would essentially set up a box very similar next to the AED units that you can access Narcan from. And so they would like some thoughts of different places where you guys would think would be beneficial. Currently in the bill right now, there's 3 places that are outlined. One is rec centers or athletic facilities. The next one is residence halls. And then the third one is any large student union buildings like the Viking Union. It would require that Narcan is accessible in this building. So some questions that they have is where do we think in those buildings would it be applicable? Do we want to have it in academic classrooms? Because we really wanted to have it where students congregate in public areas, and then also places where the community comes, because this is an open campus, and so the community does come to this campus. Currently, the only places that you can access Narcan currently is the library has Narcan. You can go up to anybody in the library and access Narcan. That is because it is the most public location really on campus. They have a lot of individuals that will go there, and they are aware that some people sometimes use that location because it has so many nooks and crannies for drug use, and they want to make sure that that is safe, and then all officers carry it on their person on campus. So you either have to be in the library or call 911 to access Narcan. And since overdose is very serious, that might not always be enough time to save somebody's life. So they're interested in these different locations, where can we put it? And then also any thoughts about any additional locations on campus that would be important to have it.
Okay, so my question, is like the purpose and the function of like having the Narcan available in like specific locations. Because like you said, there's not enough to just like be distributed to people directly who like are interested in having that, but we're talking about having them in specific locations. So is that like, people would go to those locations like in an event of an emergency, like with an AED, and like pull that out? And
Yes,
apply it?
yeah.
It's not like a friend like, oh, like, this is something I want, I'm going to this location, I'm gonna like get it and hold on to it for myself.
Yes, yeah,
Right.
exactly that. And then there's also an opportunity, I am meeting with Selena Ledbetter from the Health and Wellness Center to get more information about how students can access it directly. Students can access insurance through the school, and through an insurance, you can get like a prescription written for Narcan. So there's also some ideas to go through there, but at least through the on-campus police department, we're not able to distribute it to people. Since talking to Officer Potts, I think it's like $40 for 2 doses of Narcan, and they specifically like signed an agreement that they are like distributing it to people since they get it at such a discounted rate. Does that clarify?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we also don't have to give feedback necessarily right now. This is kind of an ongoing conversation, but just something to think about. If you're connecting with any students that you know care about this issue, or any student clubs, you're welcome to get in contact with them, like get some information from them, or also connect them with Officer Potts directly, which you can do through me. And then there's also some other questions that kind of go along with different locations that we would have it in, such as like, what are ideas for designs for it? Like, do we think it's appropriate to have it in the AED or next to AED machines? Is there something different? Like, should it be within a box that you access it? And then any type of education or thoughts around that is another part of our conversation. Currently, students can take Narcan administration or like courses on like a Canvas course, essentially, we can access that. But there's other education to do for students, like what is an amnesty law? So it's essentially like if you have somebody who is overdosing and you call 911 to access Narcan and you have drugs, you won't be prosecuted for the drugs in your possession. Instead, they'll just take it from you, but you won't actually be criminally charged. And so kind of just some community norm setting around this, or any education on these different things that you think would be beneficial, please let me know, because this is going to be kind of an ongoing thing that we're going to be talking about in the executive board. And then the other thing too is it's been asked that we collect student feedback in this. And so if you know anybody, please kind of get that feedback. We are also going to be creating a student survey, and it's going to range from questions, kind of asking students questions like, do you know what Narcan is, or its other name, which I'm forgetting at the moment. Do you feel comfortable administering Narcan? Like in the case of an emergency, on a scale of like 1 to 7, how comfortable do you feel administering it? And just different questions like that, to questions like where would you want to access Narcan on campus in case of an emergency? And we're going to be sharing that out with students. So super exciting that we're going to be able to work on this project with campus police. I think it is really needed and really important. Yeah, I know that was kind of a lot, and I've been talking, and that was like a lot of information that summed up like an hour-long meeting in like a couple of minutes. So does anybody have any questions, clarifications, or like thoughts or anything that they would like to share on this?
Super quick clarifying question.
Yeah.
So for anything that we can think of for that, we just go to you, just submit it your way.
Yeah, anything is totally fine. And then if you want to have like a further conversation, I can always set you up with Chief Potts to get that ready. But I'll be the one who's kind of collecting all of the student feedback and working with the comms department to do the news, than the survey, so. Yeah. Sebastian?
Sean as well, I guess, so we're still in the process of figuring out what design the actual distribution would be.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, that's curious. I think it'd be a great idea to have some public, like the transportation areas and the parking lots that be accessed in the open area. So I'm sure there's some design that'd be easily accessible there that is available to students. I know that the price is a worry, so I'm not sure if we're worried about just being taken too easily. But of course, you want to be easy in those situations, so I'm not sure if there's any concern on their end about.
The concern isn't that people will take it, that's not
Okay.
really the concern is it being accessible and students feeling comfortable and having, like, knowing where it is on campus and like the accessibility of it. If somebody is taking Narcan, they need it, like, there's no worry about that, so.
Fantastic. And yeah, I think it'd be great to use it in the bus stops, especially in parking lots.
I think that's a great idea. And on that, sort of, if we put it in bus stops, that also opens it up to the off-campus community, which I think is a very crucial body that we need to consider when we place the Narcan around campus.
Exactly, yeah, because we're placing it on campus not only for students that are here, but if somebody's mom comes and they need to access Narcan, they need to be able to easily find it on campus.
Absolutely.
So, yeah,
Yeah, on the legislative side of things, we're still doing our research, but I know of two bills that have to do with providing education on fentanyl and preventative measures. And there are two bills, it's SB 5923 and HB 2112. And those will be in the next update on the legislative agenda that I bring next week.
Wong, are those companion bills, or are they separate?
I am not sure at this
within
moment.
the HB and SB, they might be.
Yeah, they just don't have the same like information line, which usually the.
Oh, it has a different title.
It's just a little line right here. And they're different ones. Same topic, different
Reminder that
description.
you're online individual, can't see what you're sharing on your laptop.
Yes, I'm displaying that it is same topic, different description.
On the state legislature website.
Yes.
But it has even been expressed, like, on Western's campus, very big support of any bill relating to this. And even if the bill does not pass, it's not a worry of the bill. It will still happen on Western's campus regardless. And so that's why we're doing this work now. And these are just the first two asks. Later in the year, in spring quarter, we're gonna be pretty helpful in talking a lot more. So like us just releasing a survey, talking about Narcan access on campus, hopefully starting the conversation of normalizing it, but we're gonna need to continue doing some work. Like if we do any class visits, talking about it, or getting any information from students, if we're doing club visits, talking about it, and really destigmatizing it on campuses, we're gonna continue to do that throughout the year, and that's gonna be like another ask for us kind of past the student survey is really how we can be helpful there, so. And then, the final ask too is, it's related to this, but kind of tangentially related. It is there any other training that we would like to see on campus, in terms of first aid, CPR, what to do in terms of if somebody is experiencing like a mental health crisis, any type of training that is first aid or health related, that you don't really see on campus, let me know, because they're also interested in doing some other types of education.
Does anyone know if we're already offering first aid certification courses here?
I do not think we are.
Or CPR, that could be a potential avenue if they want to like really get into it.
The opportunity with first aid, you would do like CPR, it would be, and like, disaster, courses too, like how to do a tourniquet is another one that was talked about. So if there's anything else that people are interested in, I will share that.
It would be cool.
My answer is yes, to like all the things you said. So,
It's exciting stuff.
I guess another thing I would say is, I know Sophie is on the like central health and safety
Yes, yeah.
committee. And I don't know if that's the domain of that committee or whatever, or if it's that better, things in the boxes.
Yeah, Morgan, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't know how to I didn't want to butt in or anything. I'm gonna go backwards a little bit to the Narcan thing. I think the number one thing is just remembering that ADA accessibility within where we place it is really important. Also, my only concern with bus stops is the temperature exposure, since some medications can't be out in the cold or out in the sun for too long. So I would just keep that in mind. Also for training, I think CPR is great. And if we can do a food handler's card too, that would be amazing.
Morgan, can I ask for your thinking on the food handler's card permit?
Yeah, just a lot of students work in food service, so it would be something that is widely accessible. And for most students that want to get a food handler's card, their company won't supply it for them and they have to pay out of pocket. I know for clubs too, we had to pay out of pocket to get a food handler's card to serve food at our heritage dinner events. So that could also help them as well.
For sure.
Oh my goodness, I didn't know that was something that you guys had to pay for. Wow. And it's minimum $20. That's how much it was when I did it in 2018. And I can't imagine how much it's increased since then. Oh.
Yeah, I think it's 30 or 40 now. So yeah.
Wow.
Back in my day, it was $5 for a lifetime.
Okay, well, thank you so much for sharing that, Morgan. I will definitely share that information too, especially since that one is definitely needed. Yeah.
I just really want to emphasize the mental health, how to react in a mental health crisis. Yeah, Kira knows why. But that's very personal to me. I've had a mental health crisis, and even healthcare workers weren't super sure what to do about that. During finals week, I was in the vicinity of someone having a mental health crisis, and I didn't know how to react. And then someone that I know had a mental health crisis when I was away on break, and I wasn't there to address that, and everyone in our circle didn't know how to do that. So I think there's a lot of room for educating the public, and especially with so many students have poor mental health, unfortunately. We need to be able to know how to support each other and ourselves.
Yeah, coming out of COVID, it will only continue. Yes, Adam?
Advisor note specific to mental health first aid training. Our counseling and health and wellness is hyper focused on that. They have a grant. They've gone through the first 2 rounds of training for staff. There was one in this room earlier today. They're going to continue to provide that and expand that to campus ongoing as much as possible. The message out of that training, 988, Washington State has adopted and fully implemented the mental health crisis line, similar to 911, 988. If you know nothing else and you're with somebody in crisis, get on that phone. They are trained to walk you as a caretaker and individuals in crisis through that crisis support in that moment. So yes, absolutely. We need more of it and hopefully have a plan for that. That's one of Cicelyna's prime projects. So yeah.
Well, lots of very heavy things talked about in today's information item. And I will come back next week with the survey that we're going to be sending out to students related to Narcan. If anybody is super interested on working more on this project, please let me know. I'll probably be working a lot with it with Sophie. But if it's something that you're interested in on going through the questions that we're asking on the survey or anything that you think is important to add, please let me know. And you can definitely need some help there. Yeah, and then if you have any feedback from students, please let me know, or any clubs that you think about that we should connect with. Yeah. Well, that is everything. I know it was a really short meeting today.
Are you sure it's everything?
Okay, is there any other business that we have today? Yeah.
Well, I just want to note that next week, I'm hoping to bring a resolution similar to what we passed, last year. It's already been introduced into the Senate, and it's a resolution supporting the operational student employees in their quest for voluntary recognition from the university. And it's pretty similar to the one passed last year. There's a little bit of wordsmithing still to be done. But yeah.
Advisory request, will you email me the verbiage you just used, because I didn't catch it for the minutes.
Okay.
At your leisure, you'll have to repeat it now.
Okay.
One quick thing from me. The President's Sustainability Council is currently wrapping up the second iteration of the Sustainability Action Plan. And right now, there's only 2 AS representatives on the council, expected to represent 15,000 students. So we have a couple sections that we are working on and reviewing sort of the proposals that have been put forth. If anyone here would be interested in looking over some of those, that's not just me and someone else's opinion, get in contact with me. And yeah, that would really value your guys' input.
Can you share what the Sustainability Action Plan is? I don't necessarily think everybody is familiar with what that is.
So the Sustainability Action Plan came out in 2017 at the request of President Sabah, where it's a campus-wide basically list of goals that we would like to achieve within the next 10 years regarding sustainability on campus. So that could be anything from cutting emissions, increasing the usage of public transport, to increasing the amount of sustainability related classes that the university offers. So now that we are 2017, a couple years past that, the PSC, or the President's Sustainability Council, is once again reviewing that and updating it and fielding input on what the priorities are across campus. That's anything from faculty all the way down to students, not down to, but across to students. So yeah, it's the guiding document for all things Western sustainability.
Is there anything else anybody would like to share? Or any questions?
The Legislative Affairs Council is working on finalizing our legislative agenda for Western Intersectional Lobby Day, February 19th. I'm planning to bring that to this committee or the executive board January 25th for approval. So if there's a bill that catches your eye or something that you think is interesting, please send it my way. There are 2 more LAC meetings before January 25th, so there's a very limited window on what we can get on that agenda.
Okay. I would like to adjourn this meeting at 6:15 p.m. Okay, let's bring
Give
in.
me 2 seconds here to change gears. All right, thank you everybody participating online. Vice President Witt, if I can have you stay in the meeting for a moment. I'm going to practice with our format here, stop sharing. I'm gonna have to end the meeting. Morgan, I'm gonna call you from Teams individually to have you part of this discussion in just a moment.